What's up, guys? Just a quick heads up before you watch our newest episode of Sprites, Bites, and Pixels. First, a little bit of a little bit of background. Myself and Robin, we usually record our episodes 2 to 3 weeks in advance before we actually release them on YouTube. Because of that, we did an episode that is related to a video that's been passed around regarding WADA and heritage auctions and the like. And our conversation that myself and Robin have for this podcast that you're going to be seeing has some relation to that. However, we recorded our stuff before this video even came out. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind. So some of the stuff that you hear may not be up to date with what is going on right now with all the talk about WADA, heritage auctions, the scam, all that jazz. And, that's all up to interpretation on if you believe it or not. I'm not integrating, Robin is, and I'll just leave it at that. And you'll see that in this episode as well. But just so you know, this was done 3 weeks before any of that happened. And we're probably going to be doing a follow-up podcast maybe a couple weeks later on regarding that situation. So here's hoping another video doesn't come out before we release our next episode. That's all I wanted to say. Thanks for watching, and see you shortly.
All right, everybody, welcome to Sprites, Bites, and Pixels. We have episode 25 today. It's a milestone episode, so we have a milestone episode topic, and we're going to be talking about stuff that I love to talk about. Maybe some people in the video game collecting scene don't, and that is the explosion of video games as potential investment vehicles, and seeing the crazy prices that have been dropping recently. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but there's been not one, but two games that have cleared the $1 million threshold in the past 2 weeks, 4 weeks. It's been pretty recent. I know Wilson's like itching to talk about this. He loves this.
Guess who wanted to talk about this, guys? Was it me or was it Robin?
Maybe
comment who you think it was.
Yes, totally not me pitching it to Wilson that, hey, let's talk about this. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really exciting episode. I think everybody understands that I love to talk the business of video games. It's like my bread and butter. It's what I really enjoy. And then graded video games is kind of like what my focus or specialization has become. So that's what I like to talk about. But before we dive into our topic and our podcast, what are you playing, Wilson?
Oh, we're gonna go me first?
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah, so last time I was talking about Borderlands and I was talking about the PS3. But I also was playing Dragon Quest 11. And I completed that. I finally beated that, got the real ending, all the kit and caboodle. So I moved on and started my next big game, Immortals Phoenix Rising. I've had this since it went on sale like last year on Amazon, and I'm super digging it. I know it got some not bad reviews, but just kind of like, it's okay kind of game. But I'm really enjoying it. It has this thing called Farsight where you look around, like it's a first person view. You look around and you kind of discover things that way. Like you'll pinpoint, or your eyes will like pinpoint on something, you'll hold a button and something will appear. I'm more playing it where I'm just exploring everywhere, so I'm finding things on my own. And that's it's the same way I played Zelda. Like you just you want to play that way. And yeah, it's really neat. It's also one of those games where like it doesn't matter where you start, the world progresses with you, not the enemies.
Mm.
So like I could start on one part of like this giant world, and the enemies will be easy, and then I'll go back there later and the enemies will have become more difficult. So it's like as you progress through the world how it gets more difficult.
Nice. So it's a PlayStation 5 game. I don't know if I already asked you this, but if you take a look at like PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 games and PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 games, how different is the gameplay and how big of a impact is there on the graphics when you switch from like PS4 to PS5?
Um well, I can use Dragon Quest. Oh, of course. I can use Dragon Quest 11 as an example. I would like I started it on my PS4, my PS4 Pro, and I did see like there was definitely a difference. Now, mind you, when I got my PS5, I also got like my 4K television around the same time. So I kind of did two kind of upgrades, but I did see a significant improvement playing Dragon Quest 11 on the PS4 or on a PS5 compared to the PS4. Like it just looked like a better resolution. Like it just looked prettier, I guess. Smoother, kind of faster. Uh, like there are improvements. Is it like mind blowing? No, not really. I haven't really played a PS5 game yet that's really blown my mind. Like I could probably go back to Horizon on the PS4 and be just as blown away by that than I am with like Immortals Phoenix Rising. Mind you, there are new PS5 games out there like Returnal. Yeah, when Demon Souls came out for the PS5. Um, uh,
So there's
what else?
there's,
Sorry.
there's just a lot of really good games and a lot of really good graphics when you switch over from PS4 to PS5, is what you're trying to say.
Well, actually, what I was just going to say is like there's other newer PS5 or sorry, other PS5 games out there that I haven't tried yet. I hear Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is absolutely gorgeous. I just haven't tried it yet. So maybe I can't really give an answer yet because I haven't, or maybe I can't say that it's significantly different because I haven't found a game yet or played a game yet that has convinced me of that. But I love my PS5. I do find it faster. I like the UI. The controller feels really good.
The system is massive. It looks like a mini spaceship.
Yeah, it does. It's a beast. It's a very big console. It's very very tall.
Yeah.
People probably, if you haven't seen a PS5 yet and you've only seen pictures, like pictures really don't give it justice until you actually see it in front of you. It's just one of those things where you have to see it to kind of believe it.
Yeah, it's massive. So for me, the game that I've been playing, so my schedule's gotten like crazy, crazy busy for the past little while. So I've been picking up games that I can get in and out of quickly. So you guys know, typically I love to play like those really long story driven, like RPGs, action adventure, open world games. But I haven't had the time to like sit down and dedicate 2 hours or 3 hours of like continuous gaming time. So what I've seen myself kind of gravitate towards has been Fortnite. So I got back to playing Fortnite a little bit, and Fall Guys. Are you familiar with Fall Guys?
Fall Guys.
Yeah. Have you played that?
You went back to Fall Guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
There are people still playing it.
Yeah, there's people that still play it.
Oh damn.
Yeah, I mean like it's decent. It's a good way to like get through and like pass your time. But yeah, I just wanted like quick games that I can maybe play for like 15-20 minutes, decompress after a crazy hectic day. And these are the two games that came to mind. So that's what I've been playing. Nothing crazy, nothing too like time consuming.
Have you ever tried like Among Us?
Yes, I have. I used to play Among Us a lot with my coworkers and my nieces and nephews, but Among Us has gone downhill. I don't know if that's just like the overall Among Us world, but at least my nieces and nephews, they don't really play it much anymore either. And I used to play it a lot so I could spend time with them. And with my coworkers, we used to have like a Friday social with our work. So we'd grab a beer after work, and then we would just all be online playing Among Us. And nobody's really, kind of championed that. So it's kind of died off for me.
Because I'm sure there's still people playing it. I've never played it either. Or
Okay.
sorry, I've never played it.
Yeah.
It has kind of piqued my interest, but I'm not really an online kind of gamer. I prefer my solo campaign games, like my Immortals, Phoenix Rising, Horizon Zero Dawn,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And so I don't know. I maybe I should try it. I do like party games. Hell, like Fall Guys has piqued my interest for
Have you played it before?
kind of like the randomized events. That kind of, I really dig that.
And it's fun. It's kooky. It's like such a quick way to just get through. Like I haven't come first place very often, but I still enjoy the game. It's just so like it's like when I used to play Pokemon Stadium. Like when I think about some of my favorite systems, like the N64, the GameCube, it's like I used to play games like Pokemon Stadium or Mario Party. And I really enjoyed the mini games. So I spent a lot of time on those mini games. And with Fall Guys, that's essentially what it is like you have these like really random, really kooky, really like crazy ass video games. Mini games. And there's like a learning curve with some of these. But even though you have the learning curve, there's always that like added layer where if people don't want you to win, they can fuck you over really hard. So like in one of them, it's like you're running down a hill and you have to like break through these walls first, and then you have to jump and time your jump perfectly so you get to the other side. If people want to fuck with you, they will like hold you and like it screw up your timing so you fall into the thing. Or there's sometimes people that are right at the finish line and they will wait, and as people are coming, they'll hold you and they won't let you pass the finish line and they'll let other people pass. So it's just people doing cookie shit like that. Yeah, it's been fun.
So like sabotage is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Speaking of sabotage, I think that's a great segue into our topic today. Is the growth of video games as investments,
or how the video game industry is being sabotaged by grading.
But is it though? See, I hear, like, I remember when I used to collect like the N64 system, I was going for the full cart based system, and people were always like, "Oh man, like this thing is messing up the collecting scene. Now this thing is messing up the collecting scene. I don't want to collect video games anymore. Games are a bubble. They're gonna pop and they're gonna burst at someday." And it's like there's been so much talk about this big burst in video game that's supposed to have happened multiple times over the past like 13 years, and it never has. And now grading has come into the scene, and people are like, "Oh man, like, I can never have the opportunity to go out and buy sealed video games anymore because graded games are so expensive." And the fact of the matter is that like you had up until like 2019, late 2019, people weren't really grading video games that much. So you had a good chunk of time, if you were a serious sealed collector, to build up a serious sealed collection. These past like year and a half, I don't think it would have made a huge impact or a big dent, if that's what you're looking for.
I don't think it's fair to like limit them to like a deadline. Like, well, you had your chance, so fuck you, I guess. And like even to like new collectors too, right? Like, and we're constantly getting new people, like, getting into the whole video game collecting scene. I see it on like a day-to-day basis, and a lot of times you see these posts like, where do I start? Like, how do I find these deals that you guys find? And a lot of times the answer is go back in time, like but to like kind of limit the gamer to just kind of like too bad so sad.
It's not too bad so sad. I think like regardless of whatever you're purchasing, no matter the medium, whether it's like comic books, whether it's video games, no matter what it is, like people can only pay whatever the market rate is if they want to grow their collection quickly. Now there's always going to be the potential for you to be able to go out and like, maybe you find stuff at a garage sale. maybe you find stuff at a flea market, maybe you find stuff at a video game store, and you can still do that. There's still deals to be had, but based on what the market rate is today for sealed games, it has gone up. Nobody's saying you can't get into the sealed game market. Kind of like what you're saying. What I'm seeing a lot of is that a lot of young collectors, especially in Europe, are getting into sealed video games. There's like a lot of like 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old guys, and they're like, hey man, I want to buy a Pokemon Yellow sealed. I want to get like Call of Duty sealed. I want to get this game sealed. I want to get that game sealed. But the only difference is with sealed game collecting, it's hard for you to go for like a full set. Like if you take a look at collectors before this huge sealed market craze, what do you think people collected? Like how did people collect video games? What would you guess?
Before sealed?
Yeah. So take sealed games out of the equation. How do you think people would typically collect? Like what would they collect and how would they collect it?
Loose cards.
They would go for like a full set, right? Like NES set, Super Nintendo set, N64.
Sometimes they would go for series sets, like
Yeah.
all Mega Mans or all like Nintendo Mario games, or the black box games were very very common. Like the all the NES games with the black box card, just a black box.
Yeah, no. So that's exactly what it is. Is now, at least in my experience, when I started off collecting, I wanted to be like a set collector. A completionist. So for me, the N64 was my favorite system. So I'm like, let me buy every single game that was ever released in North America for the N64. Then when I came close to the N64 set, I'm like, okay, let me switch gears. Let me go to the PS Vita. Let me go to the Wii U. Let me try for those set. I didn't really get too far in those ones, so I kind of like left it. But in my idea, like when people collect stuff, kind of like what you were saying, is that they collect for sets, something that's important to them. Maybe they loved Mega Man growing up, so as a result, they want to buy like every cartridge of the Mega Man games that were ever made, or they want to buy like subsets, like black box games. And that's the kind of what the trend is with sealed stuff as well. It's not that people are just buying everything and anything. It's like, let me see what holds a lot of nostalgic value for me, and let me collect that. Let me go after maybe like, and we're talking about a younger demographic that's getting into this too. So there's some people that are like, I grew up and I loved Call of Duty, so I want to get the full Call of Duty set, PS3 or Xbox 360, and I want to get that sealed, which is still, when you take a look at the sealed market, relatively affordable. Then there's
yeah. It's just because it's a very common game.
Yeah, and the thing with like sealed stuff and graded stuff is that when you take a look at CIB or loose collecting, which games hold the most value, would you say?
Well, I think we've discussed this before. You said that for CIB or also for loose collecting,
Loose or CIB?
the most value would be the most rare games, like Little Samson, Stadium Events, like stuff like that. The Creon Conquest.
Yeah, so like obscure games that had maybe low print runs, and they're hard to find, and they're still pretty valuable when you take a look at like sealed stuff. But it's interesting because stuff that me and you would think is like super common tends to be the most expensive. So like, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a record-setting sale that took place on Heritage Auctions around 3 or 4 weeks ago, and that was for Super Mario 64 that sold for over $1.5 million US. Like, that's mind-boggling to me. That's crazy.
Why?
I guess some people have really deep pockets. Super Mario 64 is an iconic game. It's the first 3D appearance of Mario. The grade was a perfect or a near perfect grade at a 9.8 A++. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it, like nostalgia, the IP, so intellectual property. Is it like a really big title, which it is, which is a Mario? And there's different factors too. Like you take a look at people that are getting into this scene that are dropping these big bucks. Sometimes it's people that are younger that have made really good money through mediums like cryptocurrency. So if you take a look at crypto investors, I would wager that they're a little bit on the younger side, and traditional investors that maybe want to put their money into like art, like high-end art, or maybe like collectible cars, it doesn't appeal as much to them, and they want to put their money into assets or alternative assets. So alternative assets is essentially what you can define like video game graded games as. So these younger people that have made a ton of money through crypto, this is just a hunch, want to put their money into alternative assets, and video games is like, that's the one that would stand out to me as well.
Who bought it?
We don't know yet. So there's a lot of speculation. So the speculation is that now that people are viewing video games as like an investment, what is happening now is that people are pooling money and pooling resources to buy up like the really, really high end stuff, the really, really expensive stuff, and just holding it and sitting on it and letting it appreciate. So there's the potential that it could have, maybe it isn't an individual person, maybe it's an organization, maybe it's a group of collectors, maybe it's a group of buyers that came together and put their money towards this. So we don't know, and I don't know if it'll be disclosed.
Can you imagine if it was a group of buyers and it's like that Simpsons episode with the radioactive man comic where they like take turns having it and they can't even like organize that properly, and they end up like a treehouse for that night, and the comic gets destroyed by the end of the episode.
Oh my god, dude! If this game gets destroyed, I would cry. I would cry.
So Heritage Auctions owned this game?
No, so the way that it works is, so there's like 3 different tiers. So if you're somebody that has a sealed video game and you want to get it graded, there's around 8 grading houses in total. There's been a bunch of new ones that have popped up, but the 2 biggest ones in North America are WADA and VGA. So VGA has been around longer than WADA, but WADA is newer, and they've made headlines with their sale prices. So they have a lot of credibility behind them. So people think that if you grade with WADA, the value of your game will be higher than if you grade it with VGA, which to some extent is true. So let's say you have a sealed game and you want to sell it. Step 1 is you want to get it graded. And if you want to get it graded and you want to send it to the biggest digital auction house, which is Heritage Auctions, you want to get it graded with WADA because they have an exclusivity agreement with WADA that they only auction WADA games. So you have a sealed game, you send it to WADA, WADA grades it, and you can send it from WADA to Heritage Auctions, which will then host it in one of their online digital auctions.
Heritage Auctions own WADA though, right? Or aren't they WADA?
No, they just have a exclusivity agreement, but they don't own each other. WADA is owned by, so WADA recently got bought out by the Cohen Group. So that's like a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate. So they bought WADA, and they also bought, I think it was PSA, CGC, one or the other. So they bought one or the other, which are also like really huge, which is a really huge grading house. And then they also bought out Golden Auctions, which is one of the largest auction houses in the States. So this could be a bit problematic. You know, they own every aspect of this like entire journey now. So we don't know what's going to happen. Golden Auctions has its first auction ever with video games taking place at the end of this month / September. And yours truly has sent some items down there. So let's see how they do.
What'd you send?
So I sent down a Pokemon Yellow, a Pokemon Silver, Castlevania Double Pack, Misadventures of Tron Bonne, and I want to say I sent down one other game, but it's not coming to me. So nothing too crazy. But I sent it down. I'm like, it's their first auction ever. I'm hoping that they create a ton of buzz around it, and that the auction does really well. Yeah. Yeah.
So you told me about the Million Mario. Now, why do you think it was 64? Like, why do you think that was like the icing on the cake? Why wouldn't like an original Mario be, you know, a million? Because there was a Mario 2 that sold, you said, for like 250.
No, that's the original Mario. Oh well, okay, so let's take a step back and let's talk about the year that was 2020/2021 and the sales that have happened. So the first time that WADA made like crazy international headlines, or one of the times at least I remember, was when they sold a Left Bros Super Mario 3, and I think it was for 156,000 US. And this was like, I want to say it was a year ago, like around a year ago. So a year ago, they sell this like misprint variant early print Super Mario Bros. 3. They make headlines for making a six-figure sale. And back then it was like crazy. Holy shit, like video games fetching six figures, this is nuts. Like you take a look at other different collectibles, you take a look at sports cards, you take a look at comic books, and six figures sales happen all the time. But this was the first time a video game ever did this. So this was huge. This was crazy. This was, oh shit, like, it's mind boggling that a game got this price. Then you fast forward to the next signature auction. And I don't know if there was a six-figure sale that took place, but what I'm trying to say is that just a year ago, clearing six figures was like international headlines. It was all over Forbes, it was on Kotaku, IGN, all that stuff. In this last signature auction that happened, guess how many six-figure sales there were in this one auction?
7.
Close. It was 8. I think it was 7 or 8. Yeah. So 7 or 8. So we septupled that number in like less than a year. And these are a Pokemon Red that cleared six figures. There's a Pokemon Blue that cleared six figures. There was a original Legend of Zelda on the NES, which did like 800,000. And through the forums, I was able to see, like, I saw the one guy that had sent in a ton of these high-end items. And this guy just got into sealed graded games in like 2019. And he did $2.5 million in sales in that one auction.
Now, to be clear, these were all graded as well, right?
Yes. So Heritage Auctions, for the most part, will only auction graded WATA video games. So when you're grading something, there's two things that you take a look at to answer your question. The first thing is what is the grade? Sometimes people will buy the grade, and what that means is if it's a perfect grade, which is considered to be a 9.8, A++, people will shell out big bucks because they know there isn't, like, for the most part, there's not going to be a better graded copy of that out there. So people will pay heavy for a heavy grade. The second thing is people will pay heavy for a heavy franchise. So if it's a Mario, if it's a Zelda, if it's a Pokemon, they're going to command a ton of money in comparison to like a Bucky O'Hare, a Musha, or something of that ilk. So in this case, what ended up happening is you had like the perfect storm of a really strong IP, which is Mario, a ton of fanfare with the Super Mario 64 being a game that sold millions of copies, and you had a perfect grade. So all of this came together to drive it to $1.5 million.
But we still don't, like you said, we still don't know who actually bought it.
No. And that $1.5 million sale was crazy. People are like, oh man, it's going to be a long time off until somebody like a video game clears the seven-figure marker. And then like a week or 2 weeks later, a new record was set. A Super Mario Bros. That was listed by this company called Rally sold for $2 million US. It's crazy. And what's happening now is, are you familiar with Rally or Otis? Are you familiar with these companies?
No.
So what they do is think of like stocks. If you want to invest in Amazon, you buy a share of Amazon, and then the market fluctuates up and down. You have the opportunity to cash out your money and keep it for yourself, or you have the option to keep your stocks in this specific company as part of your portfolio in the long run. What Rally and Otis do is they buy up these like really expensive collectible items, whether it's like a sports card, whether it's a comic book, whether it's a video game, and then they sell you fractional interest or fractional ownership of this specific game. So when they bought this copy of Super Mario Bros. For, I think it was $150,000 last year, and you had the opportunity to buy into fractional ownership of this game by buying shares of this game. So let's say, sorry?
What game was it?
Super Mario Bros. Like the OG on the NES.
So you mean, what do you mean by, sorry, so you mean like stocks for the, I'm lost. Fractional or
the Mario Bros. So they securitize this game, and they just for simple math sakes, let's say they bought the game at $100,000 and they want to value it at $150,000. What they do is they'll release 150 shares for $1,000, So let's say if you and I wanted to invest in this game, we could buy one share for $1,000, or we could buy 50 shares for $50,000, which give us like 33.33% ownership of this game. Now,
I hate so much. I hate everything about that so much. Like,
what do you hate about it? Tell me, talk to me.
because now it's not even like you can't even call it a game anymore. I don't even want to call that a game. I just want to call
It's
that
not.
like
It's not.
it's a stupid item. It's like you're not even having an opportunity to like display it. This is like, I hate that so fucking much.
Well,
Wow.
I'm glad to see you're passionate about it.
I got really irate when because I had a feeling that's what you were talking about, but like there's no fucking way that's what I'm saying. It's just like, hey, you guys want ownership of this item over here online? Like everybody put some shares in it. In a way, it's kind of like waffles. They call them waffles, but we also give them another name like Razzies or
Oh, raffles.
I don't really call them raffles though.
Oh,
But yeah, it's just like everybody chip in and you have an opportunity to actually win this. It's just
but you don't do it in this case. In this
But
case,
instead, like you do own it, but you have like a small part of it. Like it's just God. Ah, oh my God.
times are changing, man. We got to change with the times. And it's crazy because it's like, you see this game that was purchased for 150K. If you got in early, I think they were showing you like the spread, and the people that bought in with the initial offering made like 1,200% on their investment. So if you put in like $1,000, you would get $12,000 back.
It's taking the fun away from gaming. Gaming
It's like
always
what you said though. It's not a game. Like I don't view that
no, it's
Mario
not.
as a game.
It's
I
not.
agree with you. I don't.
It's just like a physical form of potential financial stability. That's all it is. And like everybody's gonna get a piece of that, and if it goes higher in price, then you get a piece of that same item that in this case is a game, like but it's just I hate that so much. Like
Well, I think you'll be happy to know that Rally actually sold this to an individual or a group, so it's no longer part of their portfolio, based on what my understanding is. So it's not that nobody owns fractional interest, at least like in the typical sense of how Rally does things. It's an individual or a group that now own this game. So at least it's not like this like pie in the sky thing anymore. It's still a crazy expensive item. It's still a game. Somebody wants to crack it open and play it, they will shoot themselves in the foot and lose a lot of money, but it's in somebody's hands now.
you say shoot yourself in the foot. I say enjoy opening, something. That's the joy I find of like sealed games. Like the cool thing about a sealed game is that you're getting the opportunity to open it. You have that experience of opening a game that's never been opened for the first time, and like getting to partake in looking at the contents of it and knowing that game will work.
So that's similar to, like, let's say there's people that collect cars. There's people that collect classic cars. There are people that they're really big into Mercedes, for example, and I think what it's like SLS 500, the Gullwing car that's supposed to be worth millions of dollars. Like maybe they like having it and they like owning it, and then there's other people that are like, hey man, you have such a incredible car just sitting there. Why don't you just go in, take it for a test drive, and go for a drive? And it's like you could do that, and you potentially lose a ton of money because it's an alternative asset at that point. It's not a vehicle. Or the alternative is you buy yourself another Mercedes car that's maybe not a collectible, and you drive that around. Oh,
What was that?
Somebody's at the door, so he freaks out. Charlie,
Oh, okay.
come here.
You know, I'm not one to talk. Like my dogs, like I'm sure you've heard them.
He's like
Many.
the world's funniest guard dog. He's like 10 pounds, and as soon as the bell goes off, like runs to the door. But he doesn't run to the door to protect us. He runs to the door to like greet whoever came to the house.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the same. That's the same with them. Like
Yeah,
barn.
yeah.
Problem is, one of them's a smaller, like, well, not she's not small, but she's like, you know, a regular sized dog. And then we got, you know, a beast of a dog. He's a, you know, long haired,
Gentle giant.
purebred German Shepherd.
Yeah,
Yeah, just right. Yeah.
yeah. He's a sweetheart. Both your dogs are really nice.
Yeah.
So
But-
we were talking about like what kind of like what you would want to do with like these new sealed games. And the thing is, yes, there's a lot of people out there that would be like, hey, let me open this game up, let me play it. Like Bowser, one of the admins at CDN, I think he won a Fire Emblem on the GameCube that was brand new and sealed. And he's like,
Yep.
screw like reselling this, screw doing anything. I'm gonna open this game up and I'm gonna play it. And
Sure did.
and you know, kudos to him for taking that step. But the thing that tends to happen with gaming now, and this is just what the industry has become, or this is what the collective aspect of it has become, is that people care about like the hardcore people, like the whales of this collecting world. The stuff that they care about is buying up items that have really low population. So that Super Mario Bros. In that grade, I think is like a one of one, or one of very, very few. Whereas you can get a Super Mario Bros. That's maybe a lower grade and you could spend, I don't know, 20, 50K on it instead of 2 million. And if you want to really open it up, you can do that. But the thing is, it's exactly what you're saying. These games are not video games anymore. These are like collectible assets. These are like financial assets now that people are trading back and forth. People are using to kind of like, you know, create financial freedom for themselves. I remember somebody posted on the Facebook groups, and they were like, anybody that grades for the sole purpose of reselling. And that's not the case with me. And I can speak to myself. Like there's stuff that I want to grade just for me. Like
Yeah,
everybody, yeah. Like everybody knows how much I love Fire Emblem, and I want to go for the full Fire Emblem set, and I want to get it graded, and I want to have that for me. There's games that I go in and I grade with the mindset of, okay, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to flip this, because sealed games are not cheap. And like CIB, like cart-based games, you're not going to find deals on them. Like, you know, you can walk into any video game store and there's a high likelihood that they'll probably have like a Mario Kart 64 or a Mario Party or something like that. But very rarely and you might be able to negotiate and be like, hey, this other store has it for this much. Can you guys price match? When it comes to sealed stuff, it's just so few and far in between that you pay market to buy it, or you pay above market to buy it, because it's just not readily available. So sealed collecting is expensive. So as a result, you gotta build that income somewhere. So there's games that I like to buy sealed. I'll get them graded. I'll resell them, and that gives me money to buy more cool stuff. Like right now, I'm going for the full Fire Emblem set, and I want to go for the full Halo set, sealed and graded.
But now, when you say full Fire Emblem set, like, is it Fire Emblem on every console, including Super Famicom?
No, North American releases.
Is the are any of the limited like re-releases part of that, like the Fire Emblem 30th?
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to get like a sealed Fire Emblem 30th that's really minty. I just got a lead on a Fire Emblem 3DS console, so I'm even going to do consoles. So like special edition consoles, I'll be buying those as well. I have a Fire Emblem Three Houses collector's edition. I'm going to get that graded. Pretty much anything that's Fire Emblem and that's cool. First off, I'm going to start off with the games that I played myself personally and I really enjoyed. So that's like the OG Game Boy ones, Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance, Three Houses. So that's kind of like my phase one of this collecting. And once I have the ones that hold like sentimental value to me, then I'll kind of like extrapolate it and I'll start grading the other stuff and kind of go for a full Fire Emblem North American release set.
So I've been thinking, sorry, the whole time I've been thinking, like, do you think the people now who deal with like sealed stuff are gamers, or do you think they are more just people jumping on a whole new financial trend?
So I think it's a combination of both. There's people like myself who are gamers, and then there are like the guys that are the big times. So there's a guy named Eric Nierman. I think I might have spoken about him in the past, but he's a dentist or an orthodontist based out of Florida in the States. And him and like a group of people bought a bunch of games for $1 million in 2018 or 2019. And he's sitting on inventory that is now worth like 6-7 million. For him it's very much like I don't know if I don't know him personally, so I can't say if he's a gamer or not, but I do follow him on Instagram. And his positioning of like these games is kind of like centered around um, like financial assets, like growth in value. And he speaks to not only just the video game scene, but he collects sports cards. He collects art, so he's like big into Bob Ross right now. He's buying up Bob Ross stuff. He collects like even like sports game stubs, like all this different kind of like alternative assets that speak to him. And I think maybe I don't know if he's a gamer, but I know like his portfolio, if you want to call it a portfolio of collected graded video games, is worth in excess of $6 million right now. And he bought in at 1 million, so that's like 6 to 1.
You said this was in 2018 that he
2018 or 2019. I'd have to look up the article, but there was an article posted, and this was when WADA was just fresh, because I think he sent all of his games down to WADA. And there's other people too, like there's people in Europe, and what they do is they buy games from me, and then I guess there's like there's a really big sealed graded collecting market in Europe for some reason. And what people do is they buy, like, sometimes there's been a couple of guys that bought a few things from me, and then once it gets to Germany, there's a ton of these guys in Germany for some reason, Germany and Switzerland. And they buy something from me and they list it up in their local marketplace there for like almost double the price, and it sells.
You said that Super Mario Brothers was sold for 2 million?
Yeah.
Why? What made that special?
Well, it's a high grade. I think it was like a 9.4, which is a pretty high grade for a cardboard box. And it's also Super Mario Bros. I think it was like a mid print or like an early print. I'm not sure if you're familiar with all the prints on Super Mario Bros. I think there's like 7 or 9. So there's a fuck ton of prints of them. So when it comes to strong IPs like this, the earlier the print typically means the more money that it can command. So if it's like a later print, you won't see as much money. But with this one, the thing is, it was a high grade, it was low population, and it was an early print, and it was a huge IP. And to us, like for me and you, $2 million seems like, holy fuck, that's so much money. But there's people out there, they're like, oh, $2 million, whatever, just take it out of this account. It's not a big deal. That's like, that's nothing that, that's not a level that I have no idea about ever getting to that level. But, there's people out there that have a ton of money, tons of money.
To be quite honest, I don't even know what any of this is worth. A lot of people will ask me every once in a while, like, hey, how much do you think your collection is worth? And honestly, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, would you ever even sell it?
I have no desire to.
Yeah. See, you're a very like unique collector. You're like a collecting purist, where once you buy a game, you don't even like write down, okay, this is the game that I have, this is what it was purchased for. It's just like you collect the stuff that you really like, and you collect the stuff that you really enjoy. And if you're collecting like CIB loose or even sealed stuff, that's always the methodology that you should follow. Because right now, sealed and graded stuff is exploding, but there's always a potential that the bubble is going to pop and your games could be worth like $0. So
it has that does happen once in a while, not as often too, because now we've got grading kind of taking over that situation, but that can happen.
Yeah, and it's like whether it's investing in stocks, whether it's investing in real estate, whether it's buying and collecting these expensive video games, you should only put as much money into it as you're willing to lose. Like for me right now, I have a bunch of games that I have in my personal collection, and a bunch of games that I buy to resell. And my mentality is like, it could all go down to 0, and I would be like, okay, it is what it is. At least I tried. And I still have some games that I really enjoy. So my personal collection games, it doesn't matter to me what value they go to. Like those are my personal games. Those are the ones that I really enjoy. They have sentimental value to me. And if you're collecting anything, even if it is sealed and graded, you should follow that same methodology, because right now, like, prices are going up, but they could come down. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where it's like you put so much money into this thinking that it's going to double, triple, quadruple over the course of the next year, and it goes down to half. And that's happened. Like I had Pokemon games, and Pokemon was like exploding earlier this year. In like February, March, it was going like haywire. And then Pokemon slowed down, and the value of my games went down. I'm like, oh, it's not a big deal. I still enjoy Pokemon. I still enjoy having it in my collection, and I didn't care. And you have to be okay with that.
It's funny that you say you have to be willing to have taken a loss, like put as much money as you're willing to put in. It's kind of like the same as crypto. Like,
yeah,
for a lot of people say for crypto, you should always put as much money that you're willing to lose.
Yeah, even with stocks.
Like, yeah, exactly. Stocks, crypto, and now apparently video games.
Well, I like investing in stocks, and I remember initially when I first started getting into it, I used to follow the charts like religiously on a daily basis, multiple times. Like, fuck, it's down like 3% today, 4%. Shit, overall my portfolio dropped from like this percentage down to this percentage, and I used to stress myself out. And then it's like, I've invested it with the mindset that it's gonna grow. The only reason I'll lose money is if I sell it for less than what I bought at. So now my mentality is I have my shares in the companies that I've invested in, and I just leave it there. And if I ever come into like, knock on wood, I don't. But if I come into financial hardships, then I can go in and be like, okay, let me pull some money out of that. Or same with my video game collection. If it's like, I'm in really tough times, obviously I'm going to choose my life over my video games and I'll sell them. But until that time, it's not top of mind for me to sell stuff that's in my personal collection. Yeah, Wilson, it's fun times.
And
the
all this
world is evolving.
This whole episode, ladies and gentlemen, was Robin saying, "Hey, let's talk about the $1 million Mario," and it just kind of spewed from there. And I don't think I've ever been as angry as I was earlier on this podcast.
Yeah. Hey, it's a first for everything. It's a first for us on our 25th episode.
Yeah. What was it you said? It was a milestone?
Yeah, it was a milestone. Hey, Wilson, I know you said you'll never get stuff graded, but hey, if you ever want to grade a sealed game, I'll grade your first one for free. So you can have a graded game sitting nicely in your collection. And you froze. Hopefully.
You'd grade a game for free?
Like I will cover the grading cost of one of your games.
Robin, did you just cut out? Oh, okay. That was fun. So yeah. You said you'd be okay to grade a game for me?
Yeah, I would cover the grading cost for one of your games.
Interesting. Probably never going to happen, but I appreciate the offer.
The offer's on the table. That goes out to you too, John.
Oh, John's son gets that as well, eh?
Yeah, I'm just trying to convert you guys over.
Well, considering I asked John if he wanted to participate in this episode, he said no. Probably not going to happen.
Hey, man, one can dream. A man can dream.
Yeah, a man can dream. Sure. I don't know. I respect, another business opportunity. I just don't like that. It seems like a lot of people are just kind of jumping. A lot of people who I wouldn't consider gamers are jumping on this now just because. Like when I see posts of people like, hey, I'm selling all these games and you've never seen them before, and they're not gamers and are just kind of there for the financial aspect of it. Like, I get it. There's always like business is business, but I didn't join this community to see people shelling out games for money. I joined these groups in this community to talk about games and kind of relive the good old days.
I respect that. I think that when it comes to the community in general, I think people are still a little bit reluctant, or they're not fully vested in getting into the graded or the sealed scene yet. So there's a lot of people that have your sentiment. The way that I look at it is, even if there's people that are just getting into it and they're like, hey, I have a bunch of these games. Do people want it? Do you guys want to, get into it? Maybe it's a case of people that are lurkers. Like, I used to go on Reddit a lot, and you'd always see people posting, hey, long time, follower, first time poster, whatever it is. And it's like, maybe they're getting incentivized to now come in front of the limelight, and this is the only way that they can, is this is the items that they have for sale. And I think even if people are not gamers, what it's doing is it's giving additional exposure to the world of gaming. So there's a lot of people that are coming in from like the comic book world. There's a lot of people that are coming in from the TCG world. And it's growing exposure for gaming in general. Is it going to increase demand for everything? Like, the thing that I hear a lot is that sealed graded games are making collecting difficult for the regular collector, and I don't agree with that. I don't think that sealed values are going to exponentially grow CIB values. In certain cases, yes. So if it's like a Mega Man, it's a Mega Man 1 original that is going to be like a $250,000 to a $500,000 game, sealed and graded, the CIB will probably go up in value. But if it's like a Super Mario Bros. 2 that's in a really shitty box, you're not going to see people command a ton of money for that. It's going to stay the same. Like, I sold the Super Mario Bros. 2 and 3 CIB for like $50 each recently. So the CIB scene is not going to get to that like $1,000, $10,000 level. People have nothing to worry about. You can still collect, and there's still deals out there. You can still go hunting. You can go to the flea markets. You can go to the garage sales, go through Kijiji. You can still find deals. And just because sealed is blowing up doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to trickle down to CIB and cards.
And if there's anybody that's against the whole grading scene, just grab any sealed game that you have and just start opening them, because then these graders won't be able to use them. So stick it at them, guys.
Yeah, you said that so
fight the man.
So nonchalant, if you just want to, push back against this push back against this power, just buy sealed games and just open them. And that's it. That's how you fight back. Join the movement. Yeah. You, John, and Bowser, next thing you know, you guys are going to start making videos of you guys just unboxing games.
So I'm sure we're near the end, but I'll just say this. I have a Blasphemous, and Blasphemous is a game that was a limited, done by LRG. It was eventually released again to Best Buy, but I have a collector's edition of that, and a sealed collector's edition of that now goes for, I want to say, 400, maybe 500. I could be wrong. It might be a little bit less, but it's around there. CAD. And when I wanted to play Blasphemous, I cracked that bitch open. I peeled off the plastic wrap. I took a picture and I posted it on groups, and I said, just about to play Blasphemous, guys. And I got a lot of love from that. Like,
nice.
There's there's out there who love the gaming scene, and it's nice to still see that.
Yeah, I feel like a rebellion is forming of anti-graders, and before you know it, there's going to be an uprising, and random games being opened in masses. So I look forward to that day. I'll be waiting.
Wait till we eventually get to like all digital. Then it will get really, really crazy, if that ever happens. I don't believe that will ever happen, but
I think it will.
Who knows,
I take a look at my nephew, and my nephew is 13 years old, and all of his games are digital. He has no intent to buy physical games. So we love collecting because we love that physical media and collecting those. Like, look at your background. You love having these like physical games for us to be able to display. What I'm seeing with the next generation is it is very digital heavy. It's like, hey, they want to play Fortnite, they want to play Call of Duty. Side note, Fortnite on the PS4. The physical release of that game is now worth thousands of dollars. Can you believe that? It just came out like 2-3 years.
Yeah.
If anybody's selling
Ridiculous.
if anybody's selling one, please reach out. I'm actively looking for one right now. Yeah, just a bit of a plug.
God damn it, Robin.
And hey, if you guys want to join the uprising, Wilson's uprising, just shoot him a message on Facebook and send him some photos of you opening up sealed video games, or send them to me, and I can just cry in silence in my house.
Fight the man, guys. Fight the man.
Well, this was a great episode. We
Take it
got
to
through
them.
a ton of content here. We made Wilson, like visibly upset. He was sick to his stomach to see what games are going for. I was semi-visibly upset hearing about this uprising. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Whether you're pro grading or you're anti-grading, we would love to hear your stance on the subject in the comments. And if you guys are selling a sealed Fortnite, you know who to reach out to for the PS4.
And don't forget, guys, like, comment, just subscribe. I don't care about the liking or commenting. You can if you want. We really appreciate that. Actually, no, we want comments.
We want everything.
Comments. Do the commenting and do the subscribing. We did get an extra subscriber from our last episode. So yeah, now we're getting up there. Remember, we want to do 100 subscribers, and then we'll do our giveaway for Super Nintendo, Mario World, and maybe some other stuff too. But can't do it until we get the subscribers. So
how many subscribers are we at?
We're at 47.
Okay, so guys, 53 more. You guys can do it. We get like 20, 30 views on each one. Just give us 20, 30 more subscribers and we'll be happy.
Yeah. But I'm guessing we're gonna do our next episode shortly. So let's get out of the way. So I'm gonna say it. Thank you for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Spub up.
Peace. Later, guys.